Hello and a very warm welcome to PTV World News. With the news of this hour, I am Fiza Sajavu.
And my name is Mazhar Nisar. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Arif Alvi approves appointment of Lieutenant General Sahir Shamshad Mirza for Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee and Lieutenant General Asim Munir as the new Chief of Army Staff.
Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee Lieutenant General Sahir Shamshad Mirza and Chief of the Army Staff Lieutenant General Asim Munir separately called on Prime Minister and President Dr. Arif Alvi. Newly appointed Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee and Chief of the Army Staff Lieutenant General met with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif.
The outgoing Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee, General Nadeem Raza, pays farewell call on President Dr. Arif Alvi and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. The President and Prime Minister hail services of Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee General Nadeem Raza for defence of the motherland.
Defence Minister Khwaja Asif says decision regarding top-level appointments in Pakistan Army has been taken as per the law and constitution.
Federal Cabinet meets in Islamabad, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif in the chair. The Prime Minister appreciates the concerned ministers and departments for the relief and rehabilitation efforts in the flood-affected areas of the country. Shehbaz Sharif also termed the establishment of Climate Loss and Damages Fund at COP27 summit a big diplomatic success for Pakistan.
Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif embarks on a two-day official visit to Turkey tomorrow to hold meetings with Turkish leadership. This was stated by a Foreign Office spokesperson at a weekly media briefing.
Government informs the National Assembly that Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has constituted a committee that will leave for Russia next month to negotiate a long-term agreement to import oil and gas. The committee will also take up the issue of setting up a refinery to process Russian crude oil.
And now for the news in detail. President Dr. Arif Alvi approved the appointment of Lieutenant General Asim Munir as the new Chief of the Army Staff. The new Army Chief will take over from outgoing Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa, who retires on 29th of November after a 6-year term. The President also approved Lieutenant General Sahir Shamshad Mirza's name for Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee. The appointment as Chairman will be effective from 27th of November. The President signed the summary received today in this regard. Promotions and appointments are made by the President under Article 243A and B of the Constitution, Article 48 and Sections 8A and 8D of the Pakistan Army Act 1952.
The newly appointed Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee, Lieutenant General Sahir Shamshad Mirza, and Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Asim Munir, separately called on President Arif Alvi at the Awan Sadr in Islamabad. During separate meetings, the President congratulated both the officers on assuming the new appointment. The President expressed best wishes to both of them.
Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has said Pakistan Army will continue to play its role in eliminating the menace of terrorism. He was talking to Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee, Lieutenant General Sahir Shamshad Mirza, and Chief of the Army Staff, Lieutenant General Asim Munir, who separately called on him in Islamabad. The Prime Minister said that armed forces under their leadership will deal with the challenges faced by the national security in an efficient manner. He expressed hope that armed forces will continue playing an important role in completely eliminating the menace of terrorism from the country.
Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif appointed Lieutenant General Sahir Shamshad Mirza as Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee and Lieutenant General Asim Munir as Chief of Army Staff. Minister for Information and Broadcasting Maryam Aurangzeb said that the Prime Minister made these appointments while using his constitutional powers. The Minister said that a summary in this regard has been sent to the President.
The newly appointed Chief of the Army Staff, General Asim Munir, will take the baton from outgoing Chief General Bajwa on 29th of November. The announcement of new Army Chief also ends the chatterbox from certain quarters. More in this report.
Lieutenant General Asim Munir has been appointed as the new Army Chief of Pakistan Army. He will take the baton from outgoing Chief on 29th November. General Asim Munir has served in top positions during his career, including DG-ISI, DG-MI, Corps Commander Gujranwala. General Asim Munir is a graduate of Officers Training School Mangla and a recipient of Sword of Honor. He joined Frontier Force Regiment as a commissioned officer, a Hafiz-e-Quran. General Asim was appointed Director General Military Intelligence in 2017. After promotion to the rank of Lieutenant General in 2018, he was appointed DG-ISI. In 2019, he led Gujranwala Corps. In October 2021, General Asim Munir joined GHQ as Quartermaster General. And this appointment brings an end to weeks of rumor-mongering from certain quarters. Today's appointments also establish Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif as one in charge, who kept allies on board and distractors at a distance.
Lieutenant General Sahir Shamshad Mirza, who has been appointed as Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee, is currently the Corps Commander Rawalpindi. He will assume his duties on the 27th of November. More details in this report by our correspondent Alamdar Kazmi.
General Sahir Shamshad Mirza's career in Pakistan Army is covered with outstanding services. During his military career, General Sahir Shamshad Mirza served at many important positions, including Chief of General Staff, Corps Commander Rawalpindi, and DG-MO. After completing his training from PMA, he joined the Sindh Regiment and reached his present position by serving in various important positions. General Sahir Shamshad Mirza has served in many important positions during the last 7 years. During the last 2 years of General Rahil Sharif's tenure, he served as Director General Military Operations while part of the Army Chief's core team and oversaw military operations against the outlawed TTP and other militants in North Waziristan. General Sahir Shamshad was also part of the intra-Afghan talks in the quadrilateral contact group consisting of Pakistan, China, Afghanistan and the United States. After promotion to the star rank, he was appointed Chief of General Staff after serving briefly as the Adjutant General at General Headquarters. He was posted as Corps Commander Rawalpindi in October 2021, where he oversaw areas like Kashmir and Siachen. He was posted 3 times in his career as Lieutenant Colonel, Brigadier and then as Major General in the Directorate of Military Operations. He served as Vice Chief of Staff Military Operations and he also supervised the military intelligence. Reporting for PTV World, Alamdar Kazmi.
Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee General Nadeem Raza paid a farewell call on President Dr. Arif Alvi at Ebane Sadr. The President lauded the services of General Nadeem Raza for the defence of the country. He also expressed best wishes for the outgoing.
The outgoing Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee General Nadeem Raza paid farewell call on Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif in Islamabad. The Prime Minister lauded the services of the Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee, General Nadeem Raza, for the defence of the motherland. The Prime Minister wished best of luck for the outgoing Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee in his future endeavours.
Defence Minister Khwaja Asif has said the decision regarding top-level appointments in Pakistan Army has been taken as per the law and constitution. Talking to the media persons in Islamabad on Thursday, he said seniority has been observed in the appointments. The minister said a summary regarding the appointment to the top posts has been sent to the President and expressing the confidence that he will endorse the Prime Minister's advice in accordance with the law and the constitution, which he does, of course. And now President Dr. Arif Alvi have also signed the appointments of the newly appointed Chief of the Army Staff and Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee.
Finance Minister Ishaq Dar has said seniority cum merit-based decision of Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif to appoint General Syed Asim Munir as Chief of Army Staff and General Sahir Shamshad Mirza as Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee is praiseworthy. In a tweet, Dar said Allah's blessings for Pakistan and the new appointees. Pakistan Zindabad.
Federal Cabinet met in Islamabad with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif in the chair. At the outset of the meeting, the Prime Minister termed the establishment of Loss and Damage Fund for the countries affected by climate change and assurances by the international community to help Pakistan deal with the devastation caused by floods as a big triumph for the country on diplomatic front. The Prime Minister was appreciative of Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, Information Minister Maryam Aurangzeb and Minister for Climate Change Sherry Rahman for successfully highlighting the damage wreaked by Pakistan floods at the Climate Summit in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. Shehbaz Sharif also commended relief and rehabilitation efforts in the flood-ravaged areas. The cabinet offered Fatiha for the departed souls of the mother of Principal Secretary Sayyid Tawqir Shah, as well as the personnel of law enforcing agencies martyred in recent incidents.
Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has said he will not tolerate any negligence in implementation of the Kisan package. Chairing the review meeting of the implementation of Kisan package in Islamabad, he said the government is providing subsidy on 2 wells to the farmers in the flood-affected areas. The Prime Minister said in this difficult time, the government is providing all kinds of support to its farmers for the upcoming crop. He said Gwadar port will be used for 50% cargo of wheat and urea. He further said that the full functioning of Gwadar port is key for the development of Balochistan. The Prime Minister said all steps will be taken to make Gwadar port operational. The meeting was informed in detail about the implementation of Kisan package. In the meeting, the Prime Minister was also given a detailed briefing on the subsidy given to the farmers on tube wells, the facilities and assistance given to the farmers in the flood-affected areas for the next crop.
Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif will embark on a 2-day visit to Turkey tomorrow to hold meetings with Turkish leadership. This was stated by Foreign Office spokesperson Mumtaz Zahra Baloch, who conducts at the weekly media briefing in Islamabad. The Prime Minister will be visiting Turkey on invitation of Turkish President. Alongside President Erdogan, the Prime Minister will jointly inaugurate the third of the 4 Milgem corvette ships for the Pakistan Navy, PMNS Khyber, at the Istanbul shipyard. The 2 leaders will also hold wide-ranging discussions encompassing bilateral relations, the regional situation and other issues of common interest. The Prime Minister will interact with leaders of Turkish business community. The President of ECO Trade and Development Bank will also call on Prime Minister during his stay in Istanbul. The visit reflects Pakistan's deep brotherly ties with Turkey.
The government has informed the National Assembly that Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has constituted a committee that will leave for Russia next month to negotiate a long-term agreement to import oil and gas. Responding to question by MNA Tahira Aurangzeb in the question hour, Parliamentary Secretary Hamid Hamid said the Russian government refused to provide gas during December and January in the absence of a long-term agreement. Highlighting that Pakistan is currently exporting oil from Saudi Arabia and the UAE, the parliamentary secretary stated that Pakistan does not have the refinery to process the Russian crude oil, and the committee will also take up this matter with Russian officials. Hamid Hamid said Saudi Arabia provided free-of-cost oil to Pakistan for 4 years after it conducted nuclear tests in 1998. Murtaza Javed Abbasi stated that the federal cabinet will review previous government's policy to cultivate hemp at industrial scale, adding that the government has no intent to continue the policy. Responding to a calling attention notice, Minister for Railways Khwaja Saad Rafiq said Quetta Zahedan section of the railway track, which was breached from over 100 points during recent floods, has been operationalized. He said China has agreed to invest in the ML1 project. Speaking in the House, opposition leader Raja Riaz, MNA Abdul Akbar Chitrali, Ali Musa Gilani and Amir Jiba congratulated the newly appointed Army Chief and the Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee. The lawmakers hope that the two new appointees will continue to strengthen Pakistan's defence. The House also adopted the Access to Media Deaf Persons Amendment Bill 2022, the International Institute of Technology, Culture and Health Sciences Bill 2022, and the Legal Practitioners and Bar Councils Amendment Bill 2021. The lower house also adopted 2 resolutions seeking withdrawal of gas disconnection notices to commercial centres and removal of anti-Islam material from the internet. 4 new bills were also introduced in the House. Later, the House was adjourned to meet again tomorrow at 11 in the morning.
President Dr. Arif Alvi has said that Chinese investment to Pakistan's energy and power infrastructure were increasing the ability of Pakistan to diversify its energy mix of nuclear, hydel, solar and wind energy. The president expressed these views while talking to the general manager of China Energy International Group, Liu Yufeng, who along with his delegation called on him at Evan Sadr in Islamabad. He said that we should focus on alternate and renewable energy sources like solar and wind, besides using efficient and critical technologies to minimize the emission of greenhouse gases from coal and oil-based energy sources. Talking to the delegation, the president said that the friendship between Pakistan and China was higher than the Himalayas and deeper than the seas and was being strengthened with each passing day. The president stated that CPEC was a multi-dimensional project which was helping the country in promoting industrialization and meeting its energy and power needs. The president also expressed his gratitude to the Chinese government and the Chinese people for standing shoulder to shoulder with Pakistan in wake of the recent devastating floods.
The International Monetary Fund has termed the timely finalization of a recovery plan for Pakistan from devastating floods is essential to support discussions and continued financial support from multilateral and bilateral partners. Pakistan was already battling a shrinking economy with high inflation and dwindling foreign exchange reserves when it was hit by floods. Pakistan entered a $6 billion IMF bailout program in 2019, and the 9th review is currently pending. IMF's representative in Islamabad, Esther Perez, said the global money lender is in discussions with authorities over policies to reprioritize and better target support towards humanitarian needs, while also accelerating reform efforts to preserve economic and fiscal sustainability. The finance minister said last week that it would expeditiously finish technical engagement with the IMF as part of the 9th review of the program, but a firm date for the review completion is yet to be announced.
DGISPR Lieutenant General Babar Iftikhar has strongly rejected the unwarranted statement of a high-ranking Indian Army officer regarding Azad Jammu and Kashmir. In a series of tweets, he said it is an apt manifestation of Indian Armed Forces' delusional mindset and showcases the vivid imprint of domestic political showboating on Indian military thought. The DGISPR said the fallacious remarks and unfounded allegations of so-called launch pads and terrorists are an attempt to divert attention from Indian Army's repressive use of force and gross human rights violations against innocent, unarmed Kashmiris striving for their right to self-determination upheld by international law and enshrined in the UN Security Council resolutions. He said the Indian general officer's lofty claims and surreal ambition is intellectually insulting. Lieutenant General Babar Iftikhar said Pakistan military is a force for good and a proponent of regional peace and stability. He said this desire for peace, however, is matched with our capability and preparation to thwart any misadventure or aggression against our territory, an assertion comprehensively validated on numerous occasions, including recently in the Balakot episode. The DGISPR said that in the interest of peace for the region, the Indian military would do well to abstain from irresponsible rhetoric and vitriolic communication to shore up electoral support for the political master's regressive ideology.
Malaysia's Anwar Ibrahim was sworn in as Prime Minister, capping a three-decade political journey from a protege of veteran leader Mahathir Mohamad. Anwar took oath of office in front of the constitutional monarch, King Al Sultan Abdullah, who appointed the 75-year-old politician after speaking to several lawmakers following a political deadlock. Anwar and his rival former Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin failed to win a majority, resulting in 5 days of unprecedented post-election crisis. Anwar's appointment could usher in a new instability, with Muhyiddin, who challenged him to prove his majority in parliament.
China has recorded its highest number of daily COVID cases since the pandemic began, despite stringent measures designed to eliminate the virus. There are outbreaks with several major cities, including the capital Beijing and southern trade hub Guangzhou. The country recorded 31,527 cases on Wednesday, higher than the about 28,000 peak recorded in April, when its largest city, Shanghai, was locked down. It comes as strict lockdowns continue to spark episodes of unrest. China's zero COVID policy has saved lives in the country of 1.4 billion people, but also dealt a punishing blow to the economy and ordinary people's lives. However, the rising wave of cases also comes week after the country slightly relaxed some of its COVID restrictions. It cut quarantine for close contacts from 7 days in a state facility to 5 days and 3 days at home, and stopped recording secondary contacts, which allowed many more people to avoid having to quarantine.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said that he was very confident the European Union would soon agree on a price cap for Russian oil as negotiations were underway in Brussels. Scholz said during a news conference in Berlin, Russia must end its bombing terror against Ukraine's civilian population. He said it could no longer win the war on the battlefield, so it should stop the killing and make way for peace negotiations. A European Union diplomat said earlier the group of 7 nations is looking at a price cap on Russian seaborne oil in the range of $65 to $70 per barrel.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said air operation in northern Iraq and Syria to clear the regions of terrorists is just the beginning, and the country will launch a ground operation in Syria when convenient. Erdogan told the Justice and Development Party group meeting in the capital Ankara that their operations with aircrafts, artillery and UCAVs are just the beginning. He said they will come down hard on the terrorists with the land operation at the most convenient time.
Unionized truckers in South Korea have kicked off their second major strike in less than 6 months, threatening to disrupt manufacturing and fuel supplies for industries from autos to petrochemicals. With fuel costs soaring, the truckers are calling on the government to make permanent a minimum pay system known as the Safe Freight Rate that is due to expire by the end of the year, and to expand benefits for truckers in other industries, including oil tankers. Lead organizer, the Cargo Truckers Solidarity Union, has warned the strike could stop oil supplies at major refineries and transport at major ports and industrial plants. The union has said almost all of CTSU's 25,000 members, about 6% of the country's truck drivers, will take part in the strike, joined by an unspecified number of non-union members. Police officers and buses were seen lined up along key routes in cities where major logistics centers are located.
Spain will send at least 130 troops and 8 F-18 fighter jets to Romania next month to strengthen NATO's eastern flank. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said in Madrid with his Romanian counterpart Nicolae Kikoa to reporters that Spain's commitment with European security is especially sensitive on NATO's eastern flank, more precisely with Romania. He said hence from December 1st we will deploy in Romania 130 troops and 8 F-18 fighter jets, also an air surveillance radar along with 38 troops already deployed. As tension escalated in the area after a stray missile crashed in Poland, NATO allies conducted on Wednesday a military exercise to test air and missile defences in Romania.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa met the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak on the second day of his state visit to London. Sunak welcomed Ramaphosa to 10 Downing Street, where the two leaders exchanged warm greetings before joining a UK-South Africa business forum to discuss trade and investment. South Africa is Britain's biggest trading partner in Africa. Earlier in the day, Ramaphosa, who is King Charles' first official guest, toured the Crick Institute, the biggest biomedical research facility in Europe, and Kew Gardens, as the two nations announced a new health and science partnership.
British Finance Minister Jeremy Hunt ruled out a softening of Brexit by changing the trade deal with the European Union following demands from companies to make it easier to hire staff from abroad and remove trade barriers. Hunt said he can rule out any suggestion that it has never been the government's intention to move away from the Brexit deal, to move to a situation where they do not have full control of their regulations, to compromise freedom of movement. Hunt said that he believed existing trade frictions with the EU could be reduced by a better use of technology.
Freezing temperatures in central and southern regions of Peru have resulted in the death of at least 500 alpacas in the last weeks. According to local federations, the animals died of starvation as the grasslands where they normally graze were frozen over. One of the affected communities is Huancavelica, South Peru, located 3,676 meters above the sea level, where in recent months dozens of alpacas died due to the cold. Those affected requested the immediate intervention of the regional and national authorities and to declare a state of emergency in the Andean region of Peru. The regional federations said the total number of animals affected is estimated at 25,000 in the year 2022.
A group of Tanzanian villagers is suing Canadian mining giant Barrick Gold over alleged police killings, torture and other abuses at a gold mine in northwestern Tanzania. The claim, filed in the Superior Court of Justice in Ontario, Canada, accuses the world's second biggest gold miner of being complicit in extrajudicial killings by police guarding its North Mara facility, located about 30 kilometers from the border with Kenya. It said the plaintiffs included relatives of 5 men killed by Tanzanian police assigned to the mine, according to the filing. 9 of the plaintiffs were themselves beaten or shot by the police. The lawsuit said the claim states that residents routinely enter waste rock areas at North Mara to retrieve rocks with trace amounts of gold, which they process and sell.
Dramatic CCTV footage shows the moment a woman and child fled a house in Indonesia's West Java province as a magnitude 5.6 quake shook the entire building. The earthquake on Monday in the town of Cianjur killed at least 271 people and displaced thousands more. The security video shows a woman and child seated on the floor of the house when the room begins to shake. The woman then picks up the child and runs toward the glass door, taking a few moments to open it and escapes outside. Indonesia is one of the world's most earthquake-prone nations, regularly recording strong earthquakes offshore where fault lines run.
The Shevlik volcano on the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia far east has become extremely active and is threatening a powerful eruption. Shevlik, one of Kamchatka's largest volcanoes with a summit reaching 3,283 meters, is also one of the peninsula's most active ones, with an estimated 60 substantial eruptions in the past 10,000 years. The volcano's last most powerful eruption took place in 2007.
The European Space Agency named the first ever para-astronaut in a major step towards allowing people with physical disabilities to work and live in space. The agency said it had appointed British Paralympic sprinter John McFall to take part in a feasibility study during astronaut training to assess the conditions needed for people with disabilities to take part in future missions. The announcement came as ESA appointed a new set of astronauts for the first time since 2009 after whittling down 22,500 valid applications. The agency said ministers from its 22 member states had agreed to provide 16.9 billion euros for projects from Mars exploration to climate research in 2023-2025, up from 14.5 billion euros in the previous triennial budget period.
Shahryar Ali is a fresh graduate from NCA, where he took part in the Theatre Society Alif Adab and performed in the play Mix Sabzi. During his time there, he starred in thesis films and other student films such as Sensory Haze, Sonu and Tomato Tomato, to name a few. Other than that, he starred in the award-winning short film Safarnama that bagged first place in the fiction category at ISPR's NASFF Film Festival. He has also acted in music videos for some known artists such as 21 The Band and Abbas Raza, not to mention his own music videos as well. That's right. He's singer too. And just because he studied at NCA doesn't mean that he starred in just NCA films. He has acted in films made by students at BNU, NUST and Zabist as well, and recently played the lead in PTV's Independence Day telefilm Range Bariab, alongside with the legendary Salman Shahid. He is known for his natural and relatable performances and depictions of everyday characters in a way that leaves a mark on the audiences that watch his films.
यादां तेरियां ने मैनू मार मुकाया ढोलना यादां तेरियां ने मैनू मार मुकाया यहाँ वहाँ की बातें हो गई जो दिल में है ज़बान.
In other news, the festive season officially got underway in parts of Germany as a number of traditional Christmas markets opened to a festive mood. Known as Streisel Market, the market is celebrating its 588th opening and is set to be visited by millions in the coming weeks. The Dresden Christmas market, held annually since 1438, is named after an old word for stolen, first mentioned in the early 14th century. Visitors from around Germany came to score a slice of fruit bread, waiting patiently in a crowd of hundreds to watch the stollen being cut. Slices of the traditional Saxon cake are sold, with all proceeds going to charity as per annual tradition. The market is also known for its landmark wooden turning Christmas pyramid.
Well, all cartoon character balloons popped up near West 81st and 77th Streets in Manhattan ahead of 96th annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Altogether, 16 giant inflatables, 28 floats, 12 marching bands, 700 clowns and Santa Claus, plus many musical stars will entertain the spectators. Organizers expect 3 million people will be watching the event in person, lined up along with the parade route from New York City's Upper West Side to Macy's flagship store at Herald Square.
Investors of the Pakistan Stock Exchange witnessed another dull session on Thursday. Indices swung in both directions while volume appreciated from last close. Losing 14.93 points, the benchmark KSE 100 index fell to day's low of 42,865.38. It then climbed to day's high of 43,014.60. The index settled flat by a positive 23.34 points at 42,903.65. The KMI 30 index surged by 29.49 points, closing at 72,889.70, while the KSE All-Share Index gained 83.59 points, settling at 29,046.26. Overall, market volumes inched up from 138.39 million shares in previous session to 151.62 million shares. Meanwhile, Tokyo stocks ended higher today, catching up with gains on Wall Street after minutes from the US Federal Reserve signaled it could slow its rate hikes. The benchmark Nikkei 225 index advanced 0.95% to 28,383.09, while the broader topics index rose 1.21% to 2018.80. Hong Kong stocks finished with another gain today as well, tracking a rally on Wall Street as hopes for a slowdown in Federal Reserve rate hikes offset worries about China's COVID-19 surge. The Hang Seng Index rose 0.78% to 17,660.90. The Shanghai Composite Index fell 0.25% to 3,089.31, while the Shenzhen Composite Index on China's second exchange added 0.13% to 1,998.15. Mainly cold and dry weather is expected in most parts of the country during the next 24 hours. According to Met Office, continental air is prevailing over most parts of the country. Well, that's all from our side. Over to the main desk now.
That's all for now. For more details and live streaming, log on to our website, world.ptv.com.pk. You can find PTV World page on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @WorldPTV. It's goodbye for now from Fiza Sajawal and Masan Asar. Take care.